Have you ever pondered, if Eve was created from Adam's rib, then why are everyone's ribs the same today? Let's take a step back to the biblical account of Eve's creation, a tale as old as time itself. Stay tuned as we delve into this fascinating question. Genesis 2:21-22 tells us that God caused Adam to fall into a deep sleep, took one of his ribs, and created Eve. This narrative is a cornerstone of biblical lore, and indeed, a critical part of understanding the human story as laid out in the Bible. Let's delve into the Genesis account. The tale begins with Adam alone in the Garden of Eden. God, seeing Adam's loneliness, decides to make him a helper. But rather than creating Eve from the dust of the ground, as he did with Adam, God chooses a different approach. He puts Adam into a deep sleep, takes one of his ribs, and forms Eve. Now, the choice of the rib is significant. In the biblical context, the rib is a symbol of equality and closeness. It comes from Adam's side, signifying that Eve is not above or below him, but right beside him, his equal. The rib is also close to the heart, suggesting a deep emotional connection. This narrative also underscores the unity and interconnectedness of humanity. Eve's creation from Adam's rib signifies that all humans are fundamentally linked, sprung from the same source. Remember, the Bible often uses metaphorical language to convey profound truths. The story of Eve's creation is not just about the physical act of creation, but also about the deeper spiritual and moral truths it represents. Now let's move forward and understand the scientific aspect. From a biological perspective, all human beings have the same number of ribs, regardless of gender. Now, let's delve into the marvels of human anatomy, particularly focusing on the skeletal system and the ribs. Our bodies are intricate works of art, designed with precision and purpose. The human skeletal system, composed of 206 bones, forms the framework that supports and protects our body tissues and organs. Nestled within this structure are our ribs, 12 pairs of long, curved bones that form a protective cage around our vital organs like the heart and lungs. These ribs are categorized into 3 types based on their attachments to the sternum, or breastbone. The first 7 pairs are true ribs, directly attached to the sternum through a strip of costal cartilage. The next 3 pairs, known as false ribs, connect to the sternum indirectly via the cartilage of the 7th rib. The last 2 pairs, aptly named floating ribs, have no sternum connection at all. Now here's a fascinating fact. Men and women, regardless of their ancestral roots or geographical locations, all share the same rib structure. Yes, that's right. Both males and females have the same number of ribs, 24 in total, 12 on each side. This uniformity in rib structure across genders is a testament to the consistency in human anatomy. But why is this so? It's because our ribs play an essential role, not just in protection, but also in facilitating our breathing process. They move rhythmically with our diaphragm, allowing our lungs to expand and contract as we breathe. This vital function necessitates a certain structure and number of ribs, irrespective of gender. So, if we all have the same ribs, what does the Bible mean when it says Eve was created from Adam's rib? Many biblical scholars believe the rib story is a metaphor, representing the closeness and unity between man and woman. Now let's delve into that idea. The concept of metaphoric interpretation isn't far-fetched. In fact, the Bible is full of parables, allegories, and metaphors. They are used to illustrate complex spiritual and moral concepts in a relatable manner. So it's plausible that the rib story could be a metaphor too. Let's consider this. The rib, located close to the heart, might symbolize the deep emotional and spiritual connection between man and woman. It's not about the bone itself, but what it signifies: unity, closeness, and mutual respect. Moreover, the rib is a part of the human body that protects vital organs. This might imply a symbolic duty for men to cherish and protect women, just as the rib safeguards the heart and lungs. Some scholars also note that the rib is one of the few bones that can regenerate, if not fully removed. This could symbolize the resilience and strength of women and their ability to grow and thrive, even in challenging circumstances. But why a rib and not any other bone? Well, in Hebrew, the word used for rib, tsela, is more accurately translated as side. This could mean that Eve was not taken from a single bone, but from Adam's side, emphasizing equality and companionship. These interpretations, however, are not without controversy. Some argue that these metaphorical readings are modern reinterpretations, while others believe they are deeply rooted in the text's original context. Regardless, this metaphorical understanding offers a profound perspective on the relationship between man and woman, as envisioned in the Genesis account. It paints a picture of unity, equality, and mutual respect, rather than a literal account of bone borrowing. While this interpretation makes sense, it's not the only one. Let's explore another perspective. Another school of thought is that the rib story showcases the miraculous nature of God's creation. This perspective takes a step back from the literal interpretation and instead focuses on the symbolism behind the story. The rib story could be seen as a powerful metaphor that illustrates God's omnipotence, his ability to bring forth life from existing life. This divine act of creation is not bound by the physical laws that govern our world. It transcends them. God, in his infinite wisdom and power, was able to create Eve from Adam's rib, demonstrating that every life, every creation, is a miracle in its own right. This doesn't necessarily mean that every rib today should be different. The story doesn't imply that God changed the biological structure of ribs, but rather, it emphasizes the wonder of God's creation. The focus isn't on the rib itself, but on the miracle that God could create life from it. This perspective also underscores the deep connection between all of humanity. The fact that Eve was created from Adam's rib signifies that we are all made from the same essence, that we all share a common origin. It's a reminder that every human life is intrinsically connected and equally precious. So, when we look at the rib story from this angle, it's not about the literal number or structure of ribs. It's about the divine mystery of creation, the omnipotent power of God, and the profound interconnectedness of all human life. Remember, the Bible often communicates profound truths through stories and metaphors. The rib story is no different. It invites us to reflect on the miracle of creation, the power of God, and our shared humanity. In the end, whether we take the rib story literally or metaphorically, it continues to inspire awe and wonder at the mysteries of creation. By now, we have explored different perspectives on this intriguing question. So, if Eve was created from Adam's rib, why are everyone's ribs the same today? This question has led us on quite the journey, hasn't it? We've delved into the heart of the Genesis account, exploring the rich tapestry of the Bible's narrative and its interpretation. We've seen how the Bible describes Eve's creation from Adam's rib, a unique event that set the stage for all of humanity. Our exploration didn't stop with the biblical account, however. We ventured into the realm of science, investigating the biological aspects of ribs. We learned that ribs in both men and women are essentially the same. This anatomical fact might seem to contradict the biblical account at first glance. But remember, the Bible often communicates profound truths through metaphors and symbolic language. This brings us to our third point, the symbolic interpretation. We pondered on how the rib, being close to Adam's heart, may symbolize the intimate relationship between man and woman. The rib, a part of Adam, used to create Eve, can signify the deep connection and interdependence between the sexes. This interpretation invites us to look beyond the literal and appreciate the metaphorical richness embedded within the biblical text. Finally, we touched upon the miracle of creation perspective. Regardless of the scientific realities of our anatomy, the creation of Eve from Adam's rib can be seen as a miraculous event, a divine intervention that transcends the natural laws of biology. This viewpoint emphasizes the belief in a higher power capable of performing wonders beyond human comprehension. In conclusion, the question of why everyone's ribs are the same today, despite Eve's creation from Adam's rib, is one that invites us to explore multiple perspectives. The Bible is not a textbook of biology, but a profound narrative filled with symbolic, metaphorical, and spiritual truths. It encourages us to question, to seek, and to ponder, leading us towards a deeper understanding of ourselves and our place in the world. Remember, the Bible is a rich, complex text with many layers of meaning. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep seeking the truth.